Welcome. We are visiting the provisions of a trial of a sessions case. The first date of hearing is for the public prosecutor to make it explicit the charge which he is going to prove by the specific evidence. So, prosecutor is to be specific, explicit as to the charge which he is going to prove and the evidence on which he is going to prove it. This principle as such takes us to the burden of proof. The burden of proof for the charge is upon the state, the prosecutor. Prosecution is put under a burden to prove the charge. Therefore, it takes us back to the provisions of the Indian Evidence Act. The part 3 is production and effect of the evidence, and chapter 7 is of burden of proof. Today, we are visiting the provisions of this chapter. This chapter is a composite, complete code in itself as far as the burden of proof is concerned. Sections 101 to 114A is the range of this chapter. We are now focusing upon section wise. Section 101, burden of proof. Whoever desires any court to give judgment as to any legal right or liability dependent on the existence of fact which he asserts must prove that those facts exist. See, whoever desires any court to give judgment as to any legal right or liability dependent on the existence of fact which he asserts. So, the requirement is if somebody wants that court should give a judgment, and judgment is to be given regarding the legal right or the liability dependent upon the existence of fact which he asserts. Therefore, the party is to assert facts to get a judgment regarding legal right or liability. Therefore, this is the background, means some fact is put before a court with the desire that court shall give a judgment for what? Legal right of the party or liability dependent on the existence of a fact which he asserts must prove that those facts exist. So the burden is upon the party which asserts the existence of a fact to prove that the fact exists. Means the first principle is that whosoever comes before a court with a desire to get a judgment regarding two things, the legal right or liability dependent, it's both ways, legal right or liability dependent upon that fact must be proved by the person asserting it. In this background, when we read section 226 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, where the public prosecutor is asked to explain, to put explicit what is the charge he is going to prove, means what the judgment he wants regarding a charge, regarding the liability of the accused on trial. Then liability is to be on the existence of certain facts. Those facts are to be proved. Those are to be proved by the public prosecutor, means the prosecution, means the state. State says to the court that some facts exist, and public prosecutor says that I am opening the case, I take the burden and I will prove it. Now see, The word used here is fact, but there in 226, it is charge and evidence. When we say charge, that means the ingredients of the offense. And when we say ingredients of the offense, that means the facts which lead to ingredients. So section 101, burden of proof, together with the implied acceptance of the burden of proof by the prosecutor. So in compliance with, in furtherance of, in continuity of, in complementation of, in supplementation of this assertion 101, putting burden of proof upon the prosecution to prove the case, and the public prosecutor in response thereto to discharge its responsibility and its legal obligation says that this is the charge he is going to prove with respect to which he wants a judgment of a court as a legal right of the victim, that he will not be deprived of his life and liberty except in due process of the court. And the accused, impliedly is being said, has taken the law in his own hands and has deprived the victim of his life and liberty. Therefore, in this context, the Article 21 of the Constitution of India, Section 226 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, and Section 101 of the Indian Evidence Act shall be read together. It is in this context that we have to appreciate the provision. And the first part is an assertion, absolute assertion, a legal assertion, that one who desires that court shall give a judgment, he must prove the facts. Then the second part of the section is, when a person is bound to prove the existence of any fact, it is said that the burden of proof lies on that person. Now it is a sort of an explanation, elaboration, and conceptual, technical assertion that burden of proof. What is burden of proof? The burden of proof is, as it is said, when a person is bound to prove the existence of any fact, it is said he is under burden of proof. So when we say prosecutor is under burden of proof, means prosecutor is to prove the facts. Now this section in a way is a assertion, absolute assertion. Now we reach section 102, on whom burden of proof lies. The burden of proof in a suit or proceedings lies on that person who would fail if no evidence at all were given on either side. Now see, the word used here is suit or proceedings. Therefore, the burden of proof in a suit or proceedings lies on that person who would fail if no evidence at all were given. So see, here it is conceived that a situation will arise when even there will be no need to prove a fact. Impliedly would mean when the facts stand admitted, or the facts of which the court is to take a judicial notice. So in those situations, when facts are admitted, there is no question of leading an evidence, no question of proving it. So when there is a situation that if evidence is not led, then suit will fail. So it is here where it is said the burden of proof. Now it is being reached at settlement of burden of proof, upon whom the burden lies. It is said when no evidence is given and the suit fails or proceedings fail, that means it was a burden upon this plaintiff, it was burden upon the prosecution, it was burden upon the applicant to prove the facts on the basis of which he desires the court shall give a judgment in his favor. Now it is here that thing being said in a very different way. But this, in a way, is really fixing the burden of proof, upon whom the burden of proof lies. Section 101 defines burden of proof, and Section 102 defines the liability to prove, the burden to prove. The burden of proof in a suit or proceeding lies on that person who would fail if no evidence at all were given on either side. But impliedly here is that it is not that in every situation to get a judgment on certain facts, the evidence is to be laid. Burden of proof, section 1 simply says that existence of facts are to be proved. The existence of facts can be proved by admission. Existence of facts can be proved by the presumption. So if by presumptions or by admission the fact stands proved, then there is no situation for leading an evidence. So it is a third situation when on presumptions or on admission the fact is not proved, then evidence is to be laid, and evidence is to be laid by a person who files a suit or initiates proceedings and desires that court shall give a judgment in his favor. So in civil suit or in criminal proceedings or in any other types of proceedings, legal proceedings, three situations will arise. Number one, assertion of a fact at initiation of a suit or proceeding. Then those facts are not proved by presumption or by admission. So when this clause, this section is read in the context of a criminal case, say in a session tribal case, when the public prosecutor opens a case, says this is the charge and this is the evidence he is going to lead. Now, when it is said the evidence, that means impliedly the public prosecutor can, on the basis of the material that's with respect to such and such facts, the court is to take presumption, or presumption is there regarding this category of facts. So these facts as such be taken as proved. Then it is here itself we can see, as we had pointed out earlier, that there is a specific section in the Code of Criminal Procedure under which an application can be filed, or court can of its own initiative as well examine or take into account or ask for admission or denial of the facts. So before opening the prosecution evidence, this in-between situation also may arise and may be considered in many situations. It is going to be very helpful to have a speedy trial, and in certain circumstances it also even can help to have appreciation of the real offense for which the accused is to be put upon trial. Now, when the case is committed under the provisions of offences which are exclusively triable by a court of session, however, on analysis, it may appear, it may emerge, it may happen that the offence is not of the category of being exclusively triable by a court of session. It may be an offence of the nature which is to be tried at the magisterial level. It is in that situation that case is to be referred back for trial in the court of a magistrate. Therefore, while we will be appreciating the opening hearing, on the opening hearing, when the prosecutor will open the case, will point out the charge, will point out the evidence, then these situations and circumstances are to be appreciated, as these have much realistic implications. Step ahead, 103, burden of proof as to particular fact. So see, section 102 is giving a general domain of the burden of proof. However, in section 103, now it is coming to burden of proof as to a particular fact, because the relief sought may depend upon a bundle of facts. However, here in section 3, the situation is when out of that bundle, the burden with respect to particular fact may not be as is the general stipulation of section 102. Let us read section 103. The burden of proof as to any particular fact lies on that person who wishes the court to believe in its existence, unless it is proved by any law that the proof of that fact shall lie on any particular person. Now see, when a particular fact is taken, then it is said that whosoever will assert, naturally the burden will lie upon him. But there is a clause, exception, exclusion clause, unless it is provided by any law that the proof of that fact shall lie on any particular person. So it is a big exception. It is a imagination of the situations where there will be specific legal provisions regarding the burden of proof of particular nature of facts. So wherever law is providing as to, with respect to particular fact, burden is to be on a particular person, then this section 103 is accepting sanctity of those legal provisions. If there is no legal provision for a specific burden upon a specific person regarding specific fact, then the general rule is, as is the general rule of 102, that burden of proof as to any particular fact lies on that person who wishes the court to believe it in its existence. Therefore, the first primary rule is, the principal rule is, whosoever asserts must prove. But section 103 visualizes and legalizes the situations where any law provides specific burden of a specific fact upon a specific person. Then this section 103 will follow that legal sanction. Section 104 takes us further to a situation, and it is this situation which deserves to be appreciated in the light of the sections 101 to 103. Burden of proving fact to be proved to make evidence admissible. Now see, the burden of proving any fact necessary to be proved in order to enable any person to give evidence of any other fact is on the person who wishes to give such evidence. Now, this section deserves to be read deeply. The burden of proving an effect necessary to be proved in order to enable any person to give evidence of any other fact is on the person who wishes to give such evidence. Let us reread it. The burden of proving any fact necessary to prove in order to enable any person to give evidence of any other fact. So, one fact is under analysis, whether it is be proved or not, who to prove it, by which evidence to prove. But if it is regarding and the liability or the feasibility or the practicability or responsibility of any person to give evidence with respect to a particular fact or with respect to any other fact, then whosoever asserts that for proving this fact, another fact is to be proved by particular person who shall be given a permission to lead evidence, then whosoever asserting this, the burden will lie upon him. So this section 104 deserves to be appreciated as that in practical terms, when burden of proving an effect is necessary to be proved in order to enable any other person to give evidence of any other fact is on the person who wishes to assert. Now, section 105. Burden of proving the case of accused comes with an exception. When a person is accused of any offense, the burden of proving the existence of circumstances bringing the case within any of the general exceptions in the Indian Penal Code or with any other special exception or proviso contained in any other part of the same code or in any law defining the offense is upon him, and the court shall presume the absence of such circumstances. It is here where the criminal judicial system of the country deserves to be appreciated. Law provides, say, that I can by force repel the force of other person. I have a right of a private defense. But see, the court is not to presume it. Means the prosecutor, the prosecution, the trial, say, will begin for the offense. But if the accused wants that his case falls within the four corners of exceptions provided, but then at that stage, the court is not to presume it. Impliedly, the prosecution will first lead an evidence and the exception is to be proved by the accused afterwards. It is here where we have to have a pause, we have to sit comfortably, we have to revisit it, and we see that accused is to be through the whole trial. Prosecutor is to remain under a burden to prove the entire thing. And ultimately, the accused will get an opportunity to prove his case that it falls within the exceptions. The prior exercise, in a way, will go a nullity. All prior exercise will be just of no importance, but we are through it. It takes time and it has its own strains. It has its own implications. So we shall have a pause here, and we shall have a pause here for rethinking whether, like the recording of FIR, first information report on behalf of the victim of anybody or anybody regarding the commission of a crime. And when with this initiation some steps stand taken against the accused, then accused has no right that his version also shall be investigated. Whether or not we shall have a provision of defense information report, why the accused, who may have equal genuine cause, shall not have the assistance of the state to have investigations with respect to his version as well. Now see, let us go back to Article 21. What Article 21 says? Article 21 says that nobody shall be deprived of his life or liberty except in due course by the procedure established by law. Now, victim can say that his liberties is being snatched by somebody else, as there is no law that anybody else can cause an hurt or any other offense. But the accused also, as a citizen, has a right that there may be false prosecution, there may be misdirection of the entire process. So if the first version report of the victim or any person, general public, is to be recorded, why the first version of the other side be also not recorded? Time has come that we shall revisit, and we shall also provide for recording of DIR, Defense Information Report. And first information report and the defense information report both deserve to be investigated. Like victim, accused also is a citizen of India. The rights of the victim and rights of the accused are also equally sanctified rights. So I am stopping here, and from this point we will continue further, and we have to think and rethink of the different circumstances, different situations, and the alternative required to have timely state help for investigation of the defense version as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.